So Encanto was my Oscar-nominated.
We're getting through them.
Yeah, Oscar-nominated film of the season, bit by bit. Have you watched any? You didn't see any?
I did. I saw Power of the Dog.
Right. Okay. I'm just gonna before you jump into it. I haven't seen it. I've actually never seen a Jane Campion film. I've heard very mixed things. I've seen lots of critics and filmy people gushing about it, but I've also spoken to people who are real people who have actually seen it, and they've gone terribly so. Terribly boring, couldn't get through it. And I've seen think pieces appear online about the great Power of the Dog debate. What do we think about it? I do think it looks like the kind of film that's probably not best suited to Netflix, when it looks like a Netflix film. I hope I'm not stealing your points out of your mouth.
Not
but
at
this
all.
is all, I haven't even seen it, but this is all in my head. Look, I was about to say I like Cumberbatch, but actually I take Cumberbatch on a case-by-case basis. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I think sometimes when he plays Americans, I find him quite annoying. Because he does that whole kind of, I'm doing an American accent, and this plays a rancher, but I don't know. Tell me about it, James.
But bang on about, I think, just picking up on what you said about whether or not this is suited for the small screen. I'm sure Netflix are absolutely thrilled that they've got films nominated for Best Picture, and I don't think the other formats are competing in that same way, so I'm sure they're loving it. But I watched it on Netflix at home, and part of me wishes I had just been in the all-encompassing sensory blackout of the cinema. Just quickly, Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion, as you said. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, and Cody Smith-McPhee. And all of them are on really amazing form. It's set in 1925 Montana, but it's filmed in New Zealand, which I saw in the beginning because it was like New Zealand film. And I was like, it's basically set in 1925. Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemons are essentially the heads of this team of ranchers. And they essentially herd cows. And Benedict Cumberbatch is this very rugged, uber-masculine, greasy, dirty, homophobic, kind of brutish guy. And Jesse Plemons is this much more he sort of represents the Old West, which is now kind of dead when you get into the 1920s pretty much. And Jesse Plemons is this sort of suited gentleman. He's very heavy set, and Benedict Cumberbatch is constantly putting him down, calling him fatso. Yes.
So Jesse Plemons represents the new era, and Benedict Cumberbatch represents the older era.
Old era business,
right.
New era. And Benedict Cumberbatch, character called Phil, is kind of quite protective of the business that they had. It's sort of implied that they got money from their parents to run this business, and the only way that they were kind of saved from being very poor is because they have this work that they do. They stumble into Kirsten Dunst's farm, where they sort of they've taken a whole load of cows, and she has this son played by Cody Smith-McPhee. And Jesse Plemons develops a romance with Kirsten Dunst, much to the dismay of Benedict Cumberbatch, who's really quite against it. When they first have dinner at the ranch and Kirsten Dunst prepares dinner for the ranchmen, Cody Smith-McPhee is very much this not masculine, soft. He makes little flowers out of roses and paper, and he puts them on the table. And Benedict Cumberbatch is sort of burning them in front of his face and humiliating him. And there's all this sense that Benedict Cumberbatch maybe has these very, he's overly masculine, and maybe he has these repressed, unaddressed feelings to why he is that way. And what essentially happens is Kirsten Dunst and Benedict Cumberbatch have this really searing, nasty tension between them. And it's funny you said that you aren't always a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch's performances where he does an American accent, and I usually agree with you, but I actually think this is one of his best performances he's ever done. He's nominated for Best Actor, and I can see why, because I think he's really, really good. Everyone's really good, but he's really menacing. And Benedict Cumberbatch, we've seen do those really broad villains like Smaug and Shere Khan, where he does that voice, and he's very look at me, I'm the villain.
Yeah.
And here, he manages to unnerve you and chill you in this really subtle way. There's this whole thing about music and how Kirsten Dunst has this musical ability, but Benedict Cumberbatch kind of intimidates her with his. And the score is done by someone who I can't remember, but it is very, very creepy and very present score. You'll listen to it and you're like, this is really... this sounds bad, but it's telling you when you need to feel a certain thing. Right. But you can tell the score is very much pushing you through this.
Is it Johnny Greenwood or?
I think it's Johnny Greenwood. That's bang on who it is.
Love it.
Sorry if I got that wrong. Cody Smith-McPhee and Benedict Cumberbatch start really not getting on, but they start to develop this sort of mentor, father-child type relationship. Benedict Cumberbatch sees this very sort of soft boy who doesn't really want to get involved in the manly cowboy stuff, and he starts sort of mentoring him and all of that, much to Kirsten Dunst's dismay, 'cause she feels really oppressed by him. And the film kind of goes on from there. And I won't reveal much more about it, because that's probably all that you need. It takes my problem with it takes a very long time to tell its story. The points it makes I think, are made too slowly. Like I understood what it was trying to say, and it does it really well. Like I said, the way in which it uses score and the way in which it directs tension, I think, is really well done. But I was a bit towards like the second half, like, can we get a little bit of a move on? The ending is quite strange. I totally got it, but it all very much happened at once. You got all this build up. It's very slow, and then the last 5 minutes, everything just happens, and then credits. And I'm like, when it rolled credits, I was like, okay, so that must have happened in that and that and that. I see, I understand. Okay. But it wasn't like a real, oh, wow. I was just a bit bored and
that's
slightly...
a shame. It was a shame because I like to try and catch all the Oscars, and this is the problem when it's given to you in Netflix, and the option is, and the choice is yours.
You can watch, you're competing with everything else.
It's different if it was the cinema, because I would probably be intrigued enough to go to the cinema because it's an Oscar film, but then I'm locked in there and I've paid my ticket and I'm not going to leave. Yeah. But Netflix, because I know that I can just turn that off.
Your phone's buzzing.
Exactly. I'm not going to. I would like to see more of Jane Campion stuff, and I want to watch it.
Yes, I wanted to watch it more, but this podcast made me go, okay, fine, I'll watch it this week. Yeah. But I don't think I would have given myself the energy to do it.
Filmed in New Zealand. I think Jane Campion is New Zealander herself, and it reminds me there was a film that came out a few years ago, another western called Slow West, which is filmed in New Zealand.
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, and Ben Mendelsohn. Really quite a strange film.
I haven't seen it.
It's all right, but also Cody Smith-McPhee is also in there. Just another kind of like random modern western.
I'd say if you were going to try and convince yourself to see it, performances are really good.
Bottom line, how long is it?
2 hours.
Just 2 hours?
I think just under 2 hours.
But it feels like 2 days.
It feels like you sat down for 2 hours. A film shouldn't feel like 2 hours.
No, it should whisk you away.
But Jesse Plemons shows he's one of the most versatile actors in Hollywood, and Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, proves that he has got many blades to a Swiss Army knife. He's such a I really went
such a dad
no,
thing
he's
to
just
say.
He's just really good. And I think I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to do that, but he's doing something really, really, really good. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Best Actor. Again, not having seen all the films.
Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst married, I believe, or at least together. Did you know
Are
that?
they?
No, yeah, they met on the set of Fargo in 2015, the second season. Yeah,
that brings a whole new thing to it. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. And you said Shere Khan. Is that in the Andy Serkis Jungle Book?
The one called The Legend of Mowgli.
Right. And also Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness.
I am Khan. He does that. He has this you wouldn't dare disobey me. Yeah, and he kind of has I'm going to do that villain thing. Oh, you want me to play the villain in this other children's book?
Mustachio twirling,
yes.
kind of. Yeah.
Look, there's, I think he's brilliant as Smaug. But this is villainous in a completely different way, which is I think is better.
Will watch that maybe, possibly at some time. Maybe.
Here's the thing: if you did, we'd probably have a similar conversation. I'm not going to assume you feel the exact same as me, but I think we'd both go, yeah, there's that, and then it ends. And what did you think? Yeah, that's what happened. I go, yeah.
I think I'd have the exact same reaction.
Yeah.